Got dreams of being a professional podcaster, but have no idea what you're doing?
This is impossible.
That's about to change.
A new kind of school.
Welcome to the Pod School Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the show. This week I was catching up with a mate of mine who started a podcast a while ago and was having difficulty growing an audience. He asked me to have a listen to the show and tell him what I thought might be the issue. And I thought it would be worthwhile sharing some of my thoughts on the show because it's a common mistake that a lot of people make, and that is that their concept is too general. His show was a little bit of chatting about pop culture. Sometimes they had guests on who were people that they knew, and they didn't really have anything in common between the guests, but they'd sort of chat a bit about what the guest did, and then they'd just have a conversation about what was generally going on in the news. And it was just very difficult to define exactly what the show was and what content you were going to get each time you listen. This is okay if you already have an existing profile, if you're a Ricky Gervais and people think, well, I love everything Ricky's done. I know what he's about. I know whatever he does is going to be hilarious. So I'm happy to turn up every week and just listen to him rabbit on about whatever he finds interesting. But when you are starting out and you don't have a profile and people don't know who you are, so they don't have an existing relationship with you, it is so important that you give them a reason to listen. And the only way you can do that is by giving them a concept that they can grasp onto. Interesting chats with interesting people isn't strong enough a hook if I don't know who you are, I've never heard you do anything before. That is not going to make me stop when I look through the iTunes store or through Stitcher and go, wow, I need to get my hands on that show and listen. If it was interesting chats with cult leaders, well then bang, immediately I think I don't need to know anything about the hosts. That sounds like content I want to listen to. Interesting chats with billionaires, bang, if I'm interested in that, then I want to jump on board and listen. You just need to give the people wandering by in the iTunes store to go, oh, that sounds like something really interesting. And the only way you can do that is by giving them something that's definable and that they can understand. This is also going to be really important if you're thinking about booking guests to come on your show, especially if you want guests with some kind of profile, because if you can't define the concept to them, they're going to be very reluctant to jump on board. Nobody really wants to sit across from somebody, unless, of course, you have a personal relationship with that person and you know that they can be trusted and you know they're not going to lead you down the garden path and make you look like a fool. But if you're going to sit across from somebody in an interview, you want to know as much about that interview topic as possible. So when I reach out to guests for my show, You've Got to Start Somewhere, they're all high-profile media people, and I can tell them very clearly this is all about your big break, how you got into the business, the early days, and how you've worked up to where you are. I'm not emailing them and saying, this is just a general chat about life, because for people, they think, well, gosh, what are you going to ask me? Where is this going to go? And you want to make every single guest feel like they are in safe hands. And the way to do that is for them to feel like they know what's going to happen. Sure, they're not going to know the questions, but at least to know, okay, I get what I need to do here. And if I want to prepare, if I'm that type of person, I know what I can prepare. And they'll be much more likely, if they don't know you, to say yes if they can go, oh, I totally see how this aligns with what I'm doing and what I'm about, and I'd love to be a part of it. So you don't need to be super, super, super specific, but your concept should be something that a listener can pick up in a single description line. Maybe you sell it in the title of your show. Maybe you've got a clever title and the description tells new listeners what your show's about. But either way, they need to get it immediately or they'll just walk on by and ignore you. So if at the moment your concept is, I just want to have interesting chats or I just want to talk about stuff that interests me, maybe take some more time to refine the concept and to try and come up with something that's a little bit more specific. If you are, like me, a multi-passionate person and you like lots of different things and you just want to talk about everything all at once, there's no reason you can't do 20 different podcasts. Not every podcast that you do has to come out weekly for the rest of time. You could maybe do 3 months of a season of one podcast and then say, okay, that's that specific topic area sorted. Maybe I'll go on and do something else that's a different show in a different area, but it's still something I'm interested in. So be a bit creative about how you approach it. Just don't throw every single thing that you love into one show because if you're brand new to this and you're just building a profile, that's going to be very hard for people to latch onto. Thanks so much for listening. Of course, head to podschoolpodcast.com for the show notes for this and every other episode, as well as a link to my online podcasting course, Podschool, and my tech guide as well, which will take you through all the things you need to set up a home studio if you haven't done that already. I'll see you next week, and until then, happy podcasting.
That's all for today.